What up? Welcome to another episode of Source and Company. I am your host, Source, of course. As always, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Smitty Source on both of those. You can follow the Source and Company YouTube channel, Source and Company Spotify as well, and follow the Source NCO podcast _ RVA Instagram for the show. All right, cool. So today's company, first of all, this whole joint could go, we could not even talk about the real story. We could just talk about sports in this joint for real. We could just talk Eagles and Lakers.
Yeah.
And cover this whole time that we're going to be together here. But aside from this man being smart enough to be an Eagles and a Lakers fan, he is also the person behind the efforts to have a specialized license plate dedicated to the Richmond Planet. Richmond Planet was a newspaper that was founded in 1882 by freed slaves. 13 freed slaves started this paper back in 1882. And this man wanted to bring more attention to that story. He's also working in regards to his hometown, Tappahannock, and the Confederate monuments that are there, and having those relocated, removed, something, get about of here one way or the other.
Sir.
And a lot more. So let's get into it. My man, Reggie Carter. What's up, bro?
What's up, man? How you doing, Smitty, man? Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. No doubt, no doubt. So I mentioned Lakers. Before I forget, let me just give y'all this real quick. See this joint? Boom, boom. So shout out to my guys from Spike Punch. They created the shirt for the late Joe Doja, rapper who passed away not too long ago from Richmond, Richmond Head, Richmond all day. And he was a Lakers fan as well. So it's got the Lakers colors. He loved Kobe, which is something that you and I have in common. I mentioned Kobe. Let's just get this out the way. Short story. Back in Kobe's last season, right before he said he was going to retire, my homie Cody Williams, what's up, Cody? My homie Cody Williams hit me up. He was like, "Yo, I got some seats to the Lakers game when they come to town in 2 weeks, and I want you and I got E to come up." I was like, "Word? Okay, we there on the floor, all that, like great seats." About 3-4 days later, Kobe announces, "Yeah, this will be my last run." Them tickets disappeared, bro. Disappeared. Whoever the tickets were coming from, it was like, "Yeah, bro, I'm gonna go ahead and go to this joint. Sorry, you late." You were at that game though.
Yes. I was there. So similar story. So I would say ever since in college, back in like 2009, 2012 when I graduated. So as a graduation present, my mom paid for me to get courtside tickets to the Lakers game, Lakers and Wizards, for my birthday. Now, when you say courtside, I was smart. So not the side, those ones cost more, was behind the basket. So because I had bought those tickets, I was in like this VIP status. So they would reach out to me. So my guy, Zach, for the Wizards, he works for the Wizards. He reached out to me. He said, "Hey, Mr. Carter, I know that you only go to Lakers versus Wizards, and I'm hearing rumblings that Kobe's going to retire. So you might want to get a ticket." Now, at first I'm like, okay, how does the Wizards, rep know that Kobe's about to retire? I don't know. So I got online, start hearing rumblings that it's true. So, ended up getting tickets, bought the tickets by the grace of God. It was true. And like you said, gone. Tickets skyrocketed. And I would say prior to that game, Kobe was having like a mediocre season. He wasn't really doing much, scoring in the teens. Some games he wasn't playing. That game, I think he dropped 31 and Lakers got the W. So it was like a surreal moment, man. And seeing a bunch of Laker fans that's from, Virginia State or from Virginia or DC, Maryland, seeing people that I know there definitely was crazy. And then so ironic. So Crystal was there with me, and she's a Wizards fan, but because I'm a Lakers fan, she was there. John Wall ran into the stands right where we were. She has on a Kobe Lakers shirt. He daps her up. I'm looking at, I can't even, it's just taking me back. I'm looking at her like, you a traitor right now. Like, what are you doing? But it was just a crazy moment. Man. I'm so glad I got to experience it, man.
That is crazy. Man, she was repping the wrong squad. He was like, it don't matter.
Yeah, and he dapped because it was an and one, and he like ran into the stands or whatever, and she stood up, and he just daps her up. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this. But we got the dub. Kobe dropped 31, so it was definitely a good night.
Yeah, man. I remember watching that game. I was like, bruh, I'm supposed to be there. Anyway, we're not worse, but also in that you had posted during the game. I think you posted a picture or something on your Facebook, and I was like, yo, I was hot. I was hot a little bit, you know. Even bigger than that, you were at the.
That ruined it for every one of us actually, because with that being his last game, he was gonna sign autographs or whatever. So we were all waiting, for him to walk back to the locker room, and we had our stuff. Like I had a basketball, people had shirts and stuff, but some random guy ran into after the game was over, ran on the court and gave Kobe a hug from the back, like hugged him from the back. Security came, tackled dude, arrested him. Now you might as well say he the president at this point. They got everybody around him. You can't even get close to him. And he just walked out. I'm like, bro, you just ruined it for everyone. But, I never forget that part of it. But I also will never forget just being there to experience it, to tell that story.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's whack, though. That's whack. But yes, sir. And I mean, even better. Well, that was a big deal, and especially to me, like I said. But even bigger probably is the retirement ceremony joint. Bruh, why? I'm not even why. Like I'm proud of you for doing it, because a lot of times people will be like, I wish I was at this thing. I wish I should have. And you said, yo, I'm going.
Yeah, so the story behind that one, which is crazier than the DC story, to be honest. So my last day of grad school is on Mamba Day. So, did not know I saved money to go to the game. I was gonna go out, and then all of a sudden our teacher says, oh yeah, by the way, your final is today. And we're like, what? Like, so my last day of grad school, final, Kobe's last game. So I missed that. So I was like, man, I have to go to this, either retirement ceremony, jersey retirement, whatever. And my best friend was getting married in Jamaica. One of my best friends, he was getting married, and then they announced Kobe jersey retirement. And I'm like, look, I'm working at Bon Secours. I only got, 1 week of vacation. I'll get you whatever y'all have on the registry. I'm going to Kobe's jersey retirement, because I said at the end of the day, it's speculation at this point. Nothing was etched in stone. I'm like, which number they're going to retire? 9 times out of 10, they're going to retire both, because on individual merit, he is deserving of having each number retired. And he's going to be the first player to have both numbers retired at the, for the same team. So I said, I got to be there. I got some tickets. They were reasonably priced, for the area. They were like above where the Lakers run out at. But I've never been to a Lakers game personally. Like, I'm a diehard Lakers fan. I've always been to games on the East Coast. I've never made it to Staples. So just being there, having a whole day dedicated to him, crazy, man. They had a big Ferris wheel up there. They had a place called Kobe Land where you could take pictures and stuff, and just seeing all of the statues of the great Lakers. I even went into the Lakers store or whatever, and what happened, they had one item on sale. So it was like some random items like sprinkled in each price point. And I just saw something that I liked. It was like this Laker zombie statue. And I just picked it up, on sale, $1. Like, so it was crazy. So having the tickets, you got to get in with VIP. I met Magic Johnson and his wife Cookie right before he was going down to speak to Kobe. Man, it was just surreal moment, man. Surreal. I was just happy to be there and experience it. We lost the game in overtime to Golden State, but it was irrelevant at that point. It was like just being there, hearing his speech, seeing. I still remember sitting where I'm at, looking to the left as they like unveiled the jerseys, have the spotlight on it, man. It was insane, man. It was insane. But unfortunately, what happened to him, it was like one of those things. I had a chance to say goodbye, because you got to say goodbye to Kobe, the player. you know,
Right.
not Kobe the person. So that kind of helped absorb the blow a little bit, just having those memories of like, I made it there, you know, to the jersey retirement. So I'm definitely happy that I at least got to see that, because like you said, we could regret that. And, you know, everything that happened, you know, in 2020, it would have like, man, I wish I could have made it to his last game in DC. I wish I could have made it to the jersey retirement. So, you know, just to be able to have that and share those memories with people, you know, I remember that for the rest of my life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's dope, bro. That's dope. Oh man, I remember that day when Kobe passed, bro. And oddly enough, I was at the field. I was reffing and
Mhm.
you play flag, but you weren't at this field. But I just remember Kermit and I look at each other like, "Oh, you see that?" Because my phone was blowing up,
Yeah.
like blowing up, and I didn't even check it. And then he said something. I checked my phone. I was like, messages from my wife, my daughters, like everybody was blowing up my joint. It was like crazy, crazy.
Yeah, definitely a crazy day, man. Especially when, you know, knowing that TMZ broke it first. We're like, one, it's like it's one of those like, come on, it's Kobe. It's no way he died. Like it's
Right.
he too big to, and it's like it puts you back in like reality for a second, like because for a lot of us, like Kobe's too big to die, you know, and that's what we were thinking, even though we know the truth. It's like it's no way Kobe died, and TMZ got the story first. It's no way. And then, you know, you start seeing stuff and people, it was like it was almost like a family member, man. Like as many people that, you know, hit us up. So definitely a sad day, man.
Definitely. Well, weird enough, I've known a guy for a few years, and I said it. I actually said that Kobe had passed, and every time I see him, he's like, "No matter what, you are the person that told me that Kobe died." So whatever else we did before that, that's what I always remember. So that's it's like, dang, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Kobe. We both love the Lakers. We love the Eagles too. We might talk about the Eagles a little bit, but let's get to
Fly,
the real.
fly, baby. Yes, sir.
Always, always. But let's get to the real deal. One of the things, anyway. Let's talk about the license plate movement that you have going on right now. I know that I've seen you in the news and I've seen articles, seen you give speeches in regards to different things. How did you get into the whole Richmond Planet movement and trying to get the license plate done?
Okay. So it's funny you said that. So like you said, I'm from Tappahannock, and you know, I just everything I've been doing lately, I would say since June of last year, has been geared around raising awareness to racial inequality that exists in rural areas, and a rural area, Tappahannock. You know, not a lot of people know where it's at unless you hear, oh, that's where Chris Brown is from. So, you know, we have much more to Tappahannock than Chris. You know, I love him, you know, it's my guy, I love him to death, but there's much more to Tappahannock than that. But because it's not on the radar, some things kind of slide that if it had, you know, national attention or just, you know, normal local attention, maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it would be people to answer. So, you know, long story short, was working with the local genealogy department for this contextualization project that we're doing, and it was to bring a historical highway marker for the only documented lynching that happened in Essex County. And it was Mr. Tom Washington. He was lynched on March 23rd, 1896, for allegedly assaulting a 9-year-old child of a prominent white citizen in the community. And in doing that, we had to work with the Department of Historical Resources, and they require you to submit documentation so that way they can corroborate the story or substantiate that it actually happened. And in doing so, we stumbled across these papers from the Richmond Planet. And I'm like, the Richmond Planet wrote a story about, well, let me say this, a Richmond newspaper wrote a story about a lynching that happened in Tappahannock. Who is this Richmond? What is the Richmond Planet? Who's the editor? Who wrote the story? So then I became obsessed with it. And, you know, I'm at the Library of Virginia. They're working with me to get the papers. And we had to submit those papers to the Department of Historic Resources as proof that it happened. And that's when I found out, okay, this newspaper was Black owned. And I'm like, in the 1800s in Virginia, in
Right.
Richmond, no way. And then I started looking, and Richmond Planet, founded in 1882 by 13 freed slaves, because that's a lot. The because part is just mind blowing. So most of which, all obviously were African Americans, but most were teachers by trade. So a law was passed in Virginia where Black teachers could no longer teach in the state of Virginia. So they were jobless. So that's what kind of, gave them a reason to start the newspaper. And hearing about that, I'm like, man, having a newspaper in the 1800s, that's big, one, but to be Black owned, two, and you got to learn that, the newspaper was power back then. So, what they printed, to paper, that was word and law, so us having our own, that's what kind of prompted me, like, okay, I got to do something to tell this story. I just happened to, I don't even like, I can't even tell you what prompted me to go to DMV. I was just looking, like, oh, it's time for me to purchase. I wanted to get like a new plate. I got kind of bored with the one that I had. And some just said, I wonder if there are any Black license plates. The answer is no, unless it's a HBCU or fraternity or sorority. No, and then I took it a step further. I was like, I wonder if there are any Confederate ones. The answer is yes. They have a Sons of the Confederacy. They have a Robert E. Lee one, and I was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. I didn't even know it was a thing, but then I saw that Virginia State, shameless plug to my alma mater, they have their own custom one that's orange. So I was like, okay, let me look and see like what's the process. And then it is a process that you have to go through. And I'm like, okay, it's doable. It's hard. It's tedious. It's not impossible. So that's what kind of prompted me to go down that rabbit hole. And then I had the first step is getting a politician to sponsor you. And, I went to Senator Morrissey's office, told him what I wanted to do. Day of, he signed the application and said, if there's anything you need me to do, let me know. So he will be the person that will bring it forward to the General Assembly in 2022. And, from there, I had to go to DMV, fill out some paperwork, and now I'm the official sponsor of the project. So if you want one, everything goes through me, but he will be the one bringing it forth to the General Assembly so it can be written into law in 2022.
Bro, that's crazy. That's crazy. From the beginning, just the newspaper part itself, the fact that there was a newspaper, and I'm just trying to picture that's 140 years ago. And you had like, and there was a time, back in the day, there was a time where Black people were more prominent. I think the time where Black people were more prominent, and then that time kind of went away for certain reasons, obvious reasons. But yeah, the fact that occurred, and that paper, one, that it was a thing, two, that story is not. I mean, I feel like I've heard the name, but I don't think I've ever heard the story, and I've lived in Richmond forever. So
And that's what I'm trying to tap in on, Smitty. To be honest, like if I'm not from Richmond, had no clue. So just imagine how many people from Richmond didn't know. And I'm looking at it, if there are people from Richmond who didn't know, there's definitely people in Virginia who didn't know. And then we don't even, that's just the history of the newspaper. But then when you think of John Mitchell, who was the editor of the newspaper for 45 years, he's the one who essentially wrote the Tappahannock story. It's like, it's crazy. He ran for governor with Maggie Walker on the ticket. You know what I'm saying? Like those are things that we don't even hear of. He opened up his own bank. Like there are a lot of things that it's just, to me, it just signifies strength. And I say, man, it's no one more deserving to have a plate other than John Mitchell in the Richmond Planet. And I felt like, to me, I felt it's not controversial. I'm not doing anything. It's their, like the logo, parts of the logo for the license plate will come from their masthead. And I know there's already a lot of people back and forth like, oh, that's a terrorist symbol, that's a raised fist. And I'm like, it's not. It's a flexed bicep, one, and it's not Reggie's idea. It came directly from their masthead. So I'm paying homage to them by putting that on there in some way, shape, form, or fashion. The final design is approved by DMV, so we got to work with that to see what they're gonna do. But just having that, somewhere on there, I feel like I have to at least have a part of their official logo on my plate. It's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Anything that looks like Black strength is going to be a problem. And when I first saw it, I was like, they ain't letting this fly. They are not letting this fly. And to what you just said, they are on it, boy. They're like, nope, Because, and like I said, anything that shows black strength, nobody wants to see it. Um, and it's funny that anything that, like, you have to compare something racist to something black as if they're the same thing on each side when it's not. So
Correct.
the fact that people even look at it like that is that's a problem out the gate. So you can't even get out the gate clean without it being some questionable thought process.
Yeah, I've seen people say like, "What if they've you know me personally? We played on a lot of flag games. We've known each other for a few years now. I have never looked at myself as racist ever. I'm pro-black, obviously, but I've never been called racist. But then, people who don't know me have been saying on the news, oh, we find what he's doing to be racist. We find, that symbol to be racist. What if we put a white fist, or what if we signified white excellence? Like, how would you all feel? And that was just mind blowing to think that, okay, there's over 200 license plates recognized by the state of Virginia. None are black unless it's a HBCU, fraternity or sorority. And I'm like, I'm just trying to have one, just trying to make just one. And it's a problem. And I'm like, that any less of a person, I would take offense to it. But I know, like I said, it's signifying strength, it's signifying black excellence. I'm not doing it to be controversial. And, I need 450 people to kind of, pre-order one. So who I'm talking to, the 450 people who want to take a chance, who have faith in me, who trust me. For the rest of the citizens, there are over 200 plus plates that you can choose from. You don't have to choose mine. I'm not going to be offended by it, but it's all about education. And if this plate starts the conversation about John Mitchell, starts the conversation about the Richmond Planet to educate our people and people of Virginia and elsewhere, then I've done my job at the end of the day.
Indeed, indeed. It speaks to hidden figures. I always look at hidden figures like, man, lived in Richmond, lived in Virginia forever, and I didn't know anything about the Hidden Figures story until the movie came out. How is that possible? Because there's some things that, well, it's a lot of things that we'll never know unless somebody digs super deep and just happens to come across it like you did. So
Correct.
kudos to you for that though, for real. Because even just, I mean, you could have seen it and then been like, man, that's crazy, and moved on. That would have been easy, but you're taking the initiative and trying to make some change in the world. So I definitely appreciate you for doing that.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, man. So you mentioned the design of the license plate, and I know that the template that you have now was created, for people to see and to figure something out how you want to go from there. But it's actually being done by Dreams for Purpose.
Yeah, by Ricky Parker, A Dream for Purpose. So Ricky, he's a Virginia Union alum, so he went to Union, and he's also a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. So that's how I kind of knew him, over the years. And billboard in the back, so he has his billboard called Black is Beautiful, his art installation, and we kind of partnered to bring it to Tappahannock, and it had great success. Tappahannock is the only place where he has displayed it for 2 months. He normally displays it in a different city in Virginia for 4 weeks. He actually did it in Tappahannock for 8 weeks, and that was because the dates were so close to Election Day. I kind of asked him like, "Hey man, is there any way that you can kind of put it up, keep it up for an extra 4 weeks with the emphasis of having it up on Election Day?" And he said, "Let's do it." And it was met with such great success that, when I first learned about the project, he's the first person that I told. I said, "Hey man, I'm thinking about doing something crazy," because a lot of people have been asking, "Hey, what are you doing next? What are you doing next?" And I'm like, I just wanted to put this billboard up because I do believe that Black is beautiful, and I thought that it needed to be displayed in Tappahannock because, hey, they needed a reminder that Black is beautiful. And I was proud to not only have a billboard displayed in my hometown, but the biggest billboard in the center of town for 8 weeks during a pivotal point in U.S. history in terms of the election. And I said, look, man, if I do this plate, I only want you to design it. And he said, I'm in. And once he said he was in, I'm like, okay, I'll do the leg work, whatever it is, and finding out I need 450 signatures that, I said, I'll do that. I'll get the politician on board. I've done that. I said, I just want you to do what you do best, and that's design, because everything he does is fire. And for me, with us being Black, it's like, okay, I don't want you to support me just because I'm Black. I don't want that. I want you to support it because you believe in it. And I also know that the onus is on us. This is too big of a moment for me to fumble it, so to speak, and put something out that's mediocre. Like, I'm a perfectionist, so I wanted him to get on board with it. And Miss Dawn Brooks from Warsaw, Virginia, I know her very well. We've done some work back home, and I asked her, like, hey, can you just do a flyer? Because although I feel like I foster great relationships, I also know that I don't know 450 people that'll get it, just off of the strength of knowing me. So I said I needed some visual aid, visual representation to kind of give you, okay, this is, this will be in there, this may be in there, this may be altered a little bit, but just giving you some concept art, because I know it'd be hard to sell. Hey, I'm gonna do a plate. Can you give me $10? Like, I know that's gonna be a hard sell. So she did the actual the logo for the flyer. And then from there, DMV has some stipulations that, like, we already know that the arm is a little too big behind the letters. We know that, and we knew that with the flyer, but I wanted it to grab your attention, to have you stop and look and like, hey, what's this about? But we know in terms of DMV and putting it on the actual plate, that might not be feasible. So the flexed bicep, it may be to the left, it may be to the right, it may be a little smaller. But that's going to be Ricky's, job. That's his expertise, because he'll be working with DMV to determine what we can and what we can't do.
Dope. I can't wait for that joint. You want to put me down now, but I'm just telling you now. And we'll
Thank you.
afterwards. Yeah. So you mentioned your town, your hometown, I should say, Tappahannock. Let's go back a little bit, bro, and because I always try to take it back to people's essence, back to the inception. Not the inception, but the essence of who you are. So you grew up in Tappahannock. Um, Siblings? I know you have a brother.
Yeah, I got a younger brother. Well, I'm the oldest of three. I got a younger brother named Jonathan, and then a little sister named Tamika. She's the youngest. So growing up, I've been there all my life. So my mom's been there as long as I can remember. I think she moved to Tappahannock when I was 3 years old. So I've been in Tappahannock since three. I've been to, I went to Tappahannock Elementary, Essex Intermediate School, Essex High School. Um, I had a different experience, and trust me, the white people, some, let me say, back home, love to remind me that, hey, nothing really happened to you. And I have to be honest, my mom was a nurse, and she's a private duty nurse. So those type of people, they see no color. So if you're a white person, you're a prominent white citizen, and you have a elderly family member, and my mom's taking care of them, you're gonna treat her with compassion. My stepdad, rest in peace, he was a Black business owner, so he owned his own barbershop growing up, and he could cut really good. So it helps that you're good at what you do and you own. So he had worked for many years, and then he ended up owning it. So I'm not gonna lie. So that was the truth. A Black business owner and a private duty nurse, and then on top of which, I played sports, and I like to think that I was pretty good in football and running track. So all of those things, more so than like being racist, so to speak, Tappahannock is a football town. We're big on our football, and I was one of the star players on the football team, at least from a defensive perspective. So yeah, it's kind of like being a superstar. So no, I didn't really. But then when you sit back and think about, okay, here are the things that were happening to others, and here are some things that happened to me. Like, I won't go, too in depth, but my brother was being picked on one year when I was in high school, and my mom kind of got on me because she was like, look, that's your brother, you need to defend him, I don't care what you do. And this guy was throwing crayons at him, and I ended up getting in a fight on the bus with my brother. Cops were called, everything, and that's literally what happened. So we had to go to we got locked up, so to speak. And then we had to go to court for it. And I remember the state's representative wanted me to go to alternative school. And it literally took my mom's lawyer to say, I think that's a little egregious, that's a little excessive. He could like never gotten in trouble. He literally was defending his brother, no record, no nothing, and you want to send him to alternative school. So I always sit back and think, what would have happened to me if I would have went to alternative school for, taking up for my brother. So it's little things like that. Like it's, implicit bias. You know what I'm saying? It's things that it's not necessarily blatant, but it's like, okay, if you're, if it's in your DNA and that's how you believe, you're like, oh, black guy fighting problem, but not understanding not understanding the why behind it. Or, either I got kicked off of the track team because we were on, so we were getting ready to practice for the regional, got already qualified for states. And we were doing regional, and it was at the time of midterms. And I'm like, look, man, I'm a little tired. I got a big test tomorrow. Telling my coach, Coach Seister, I'm gonna go home. And he was like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna go home, get on the bus, go home, and I, hit it tomorrow. I really want to study for the midterm or whatever. And this guy was on the bus. We had a substitute bus driver. Guy was on the bus, and he yelled out the window and cursed at our reporter. Now, if anybody that knows us, we only got one real reporter, Chris Rose. To this day, I have a great relationship with him. I have his number in my phone right now. Like he's the one writing some of the Tappahannock stories on some of the things we got going on. But someone cursed him, yelled at him, cursed, and they said Reggie did it. And I'm like, what? Like I did it. And I'm like, I'm cool with Chris Rose. So let's add an additional dynamic to that. The guy who actually cursed at him told the principal it was me. Reggie didn't do it. The principal said, no, you're lying. Reggie has something to lose. You don't. I don't believe you. So, yep, suspended. And I can't blame my coach. And I'm so glad that we're doing this interview because I'm going to stick to, to the story. This is years ago. I graduated high school in 2007. So this is like 2005, 2006. I'm like a junior, but I'm, I hope he knows now, like, hey, I was innocent, but his policy, you're suspended, you're off the track team. So I state qualified, personal record, everything, could not participate in states because, I like to say that racist ideology. And then it was just a wake up call to be when seeing, the modern day lynching of George Floyd, that like just triggered everything in me. And I said, you know what? No longer can I sit back and maintain the status quo. No longer can I sit back and say, oh, this is Essex County. This is how it always has been. And this is how it always will be. I can't, that's not enough for me anymore. And that's kind of what's been, driving me to move forward. And that is what I remind people of when they tell me, well, Reggie, nothing really racist happened to you. Like, yeah, nothing maybe explicitly racist. Like, no one ever called me out of my name, but there were some things that happened to me as a result of racist ideology. Yes.
Yeah. And nothing has to happen to you that they see in order to validate the issue. That doesn't change the fact that there is an issue. And if you want to speak on that, that's on you, That's what we all should do. But dang, especially the second joint, that's kind of, but it's not surprising because those type of micro issues happen on a daily basis. And sometimes we recognize it, sometimes other people recognize it. Most times they don't because not everybody's looking for it. I've even heard Black people say, and I've looked at them like, how have you gone through your life without this? Like nothing's ever happened to me that was racist. I seriously doubt that is true. You may not have recognized it at the time. You may not even recognize it now. But if we went back and talked about certain situations in your life, I guarantee you something happened. You just may not realize it.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, right.
So I told you earlier that one of your old teammates is my guy, Delante Ashton. That's my dude. Yeah. So I told him I was going to talk to you. He was like, remind him how we used to always go to Ramo's house and get CDs made. Get CDs made. I know actually, yeah. I know Remo too a little bit, but I know Delante is my man though.
So crazy story. Lante and all of them boys, so they were old, much older than me, 3 years older than me. So when I was a freshman, they were seniors. So my guys, they kind of took me under their wing. I was one of like 3 people who made varsity as a freshman. Me, one of my good friends, Terry, and ultimately our center, Jonathan Lee, we were the only in Lamar Stewart. So we were the only ones that made varsity as freshmen. Delante likes to remind me that, he was a better corner than me, but, he had 3 years, ahead of me. So yeah, at that time he was, but then I'll come back with, I've tied the single season record of 8 interceptions in a season. And I didn't tie with Delante. So, but I did learn a lot from them. Like, those are my guys, man. And they kind of, just, yes. So all of them, we definitely used to get CDs. That was before iPods and everything, was out. Like, you definitely needed, the newest music, and that was a part of it. And one thing that they taught me growing up, and which I essentially taught the younger generation of players that came after me: look sweet, play sweet. Like, so you got to come out there with swag, you got to come out there with confidence. And Lante, my boy, man, I've seen him get burnt plenty of times, but he comes back with that confidence. Like, okay, that was the last play. I've seen him get plenty of picks. I've seen him ice some games and getting a game, winning, or a game changing interception. And to me, that's how I wanted to approach it. Hey, I'm not the biggest guy, I'm not the fastest guy, I'm not the smartest guy, but I'm gonna play sound fundamental football, and I'm gonna lock up your best wide receiver, and I'm gonna bank on myself that more times than not, I'm gonna win that matchup other than you are. And I got that from them. So yeah, those definitely my guys, man. We used to leave, Duke UNC games, like we would leave school, and I didn't drive. Like I said, I'm a freshman, so I'm riding in the car with them, and they're like, "Is he like your, who is he, like y'all little protege?" And they're like, "Yeah, that's our guy." So yeah, they definitely did, take me under their wing.
That's dope. That's dope. And I didn't even think about it because I had the chat. I was like, wait a second, you live near Tappahannock, right? And then he explained how the everybody goes to the same school
Right.
in the county, pretty much because of the size of the area and all that. So I was like, okay, let me get a little intel real quick from you.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's not like Richmond for sure. Like so like y'all, based on the area you in, you go to that school. Like, nah. So I lived in Tappahannock. He technically Battery. So but we would all go. We only got one high school. Let me just point that tells you everything you need to know right there. We got one
Right.
high school, so we all go there.
While we on football, just mention it real quick. I had to just grab my hat, grab that John in there real quick.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Quick thought on Nick Sirianni, if you have any thought on Nick Sirianni and the departure of Carson Wentz.
Um, the Wentz. So let me back up. So as you know, I went to University of Richmond. And they
you
paid.
saw you saw Wentz up front and personal.
Yes. And ever since then, I've been on the Wentz wagon, so to speak. Like, he was a problem back when they were like, okay, it's between Wentz and Goff. I'm like, man, I've seen Wentz play. Like, he's good, and I felt he was a good fit. What I don't like is this, and I'm gonna be honest. And I just had this conversation with a long-term Eagles fan yesterday. I kind of lost a little bit of respect for Carson just because, you know, this year he has some adversity. Okay, no one said Jalen Hurts was gonna be the guy. We just, hey, we shutting you down. Let's just assess him, evaluate him. We're not going anywhere. Like, I didn't take it as Carson Wentz, you're not, like, but for him to feel the way he felt, to basically demand a trade or want to get out, maybe I understand, like, his feelings were hurt a little bit, but it's one of those things. It's football. My granted, my coach, if I had a bad play, or Reggie, get out, I get out, and then you have some time to reflect on what you did wrong, get back in. Like, and that's what I really wanted to see from Carson. I've been rooting for him, and I've been, I'm an Eagles fan just like you, so you know how we do, man. People, bash us. We gonna defend them to the end till we blue in the face. But I honestly can't defend this. But more importantly, I don't know what we're doing as an organization. You trade Carson, you let go of Doug. So, like, okay, which one was the issue? If you get rid of one and keep the other, okay. But my thing is this too. All right, we got to run this, and they forget this. And I'm a business major. The NFL is a business. The Eagles, they're a company, so to speak. They're their own entity. Oh, my employee doesn't want to work for me, but my employee, guess what? You're under contract. Unhappy or not, I would have kept him. So, now you're giving him what he wanted. Let him go, and for next to nothing. This new coach, I'm I, I'm a little hesitant. I'm a little, it's like, okay, we had a Super Bowl winning coach and you
Right.
let him go over a dispute. And then the person who he had the dispute with, you also let go. So now we're the ones suffering because of a internal squabble that they had between one another. It's an issue, man, but it's an issue. And with the organization, I get upset when I go and look, we could have had Lamar Jackson. We
Hmm.
could have had Justin Jefferson. We
Justin
could have had
Jefferson.
DK Metcalf. These are all players, and this is not speculation. These are all players that, we traded the pick that Baltimore essentially drafted Lamar with. We didn't get Metcalf. He was on the table. And we didn't get Justin Jefferson.
But Justin Jefferson, that joint blew me. That joint, I was like, yeah, he fell right to the right spot.
Right. And I'm like, no shade to Ray. I don't know him. I'm not a big college fan. The big names, I know them. Rhaegar, he was on the outskirts. It was like, hey, if you get one of these wide receivers, you're good. Rhaegar's name wasn't on those one of these wide receiver lists.
He was
And then
on the next jump. Yeah.
he was on the like, okay, if once the top guys are gone, these guys, they're gonna be, plug and play, play a specialized role. But it's like, man, it just blew me. So I'm anxiously awaiting the draft. I feel like, to me, I hope we don't trick it up and get a quarterback. We need I'm thinking either, Jamar Chase or Devontae Smith in terms of wide receiver, but I just can't trust. I can't trust, what we do, but hopefully, man, we'll see. But yeah, we got some proving to do, But I will say this on the Eagles, to all Redskins and Cowboys fans, I'm like, when's the last time you won a Super Bowl? So, while you're over here talking trash to us, when's the last time you won a Super Bowl? And I tell them, unless your team won a Super Bowl while you were an adult, because that kid stuff does not matter while you're an adult, you gotta be quiet right now, because at the end of the day, we are the last Super Bowl champs of the NFC East, the most recent, most current. So, we gonna own that until somebody else win. So it is what it
That's
is.
right. That's right. I had a dude tell me in the barbershop, uh, because one of my homeboy is an Eagles fan from Philly and he's
Uh-huh.
the barber. So I'll come in, I sit down, he's like, blah, blah, blah. This is like a few months after the Super Bowl. This dude's a Cowboys fan. I don't know him, but he chimes in and says, y'all still celebrating that Super Bowl from 3 months ago? I said, bro, y'all been celebrating Super Bowl since 20 plus years ago. We can't get a couple months.
For sure. Listen, like, I had a great run back then. So it started with the Kobe jersey retirement. Eagles then won the Super Bowl. I went to the parade. In the midst of that, I got a new job too. So I started with ABC. So I took some time off. The off days, I'm at the parade. Parade is insane. I mean, 17 blocks. You could not cross the street. It was blocked off for 17 blocks. They
Mm.
were giving away free alcohol, Budweiser. Shout out to them. So you got like a token, and you could take that token anywhere, and you getting free alcohol. But it was so cold, man. I wasn't drinking nothing. I'm bundled up. I just wanted to be there. And then cap that off, I got to meet the players because that was February. I got to meet the players in March, on March the 4th to be exact, my birthday. Met the players and got autographs. So all the stuff they autographed, they're autographing it, saying happy birthday on there. And Kobe wins what was it, an Oscar, Grammy? He wins it the same day for Dear Basketball. Oscar. He wins it the same day. So I had a great run, so yes, I'm gonna celebrate it. It's the first one. We threw a Super Bowl party, and it's against the Patriots. So it's like, look, I don't care if we ever win another. I tell people this, like, look, I say, if we win a Super Bowl against the GOAT, Tom Brady, and with a backup quarterback, I'm good. I'm not gonna complain. I can't complain. And we
Yeah.
did just that. So I'm going with the flow right now because I'm gonna always remember us winning the first one, how I felt, and being able to go to the parade. It was just crazy.
Yeah, it was a beautiful thing. I was watching, working and watching, and my cousins. I had two cousins, one on each side that were out there that traveled. One from Atlanta and one from Texas, but lived in Virginia. But yeah, they had a good time. I had to live vicariously through them
It was crazy.
that experience.
Eddie, man, it was definitely a good time, man.
We're gonna do it again one day, and I will be in the building. That's
Yes,
that's for
sir.
sure. That's for sure. So you said you graduated from VSU and U of R.
Yeah, so VSU for undergrad, class of 2012, business management major, and then University of Richmond, ironically, I graduated in 2016 with a master's in human resource management. And that was the first year that President Crutcher was the president of the university. And that, means something now because he kind of just stepped down just recently. But before doing so, he renamed one of the halls after John Mitchell, who is the editor of the Richmond Planet, or who was the editor of the Richmond Planet, which is the newspaper that I'm doing the license plate for. So it's a lot of things that's full circle that's kind of letting me know that, man, you're on the right path. So just
That's
wanted to put that out there.
crazy. I did not even know that. That is a dope connection, though. That is a
Exactly. And I had to email him about it. He emailed me back and I said, man, I just wanted to say thank you, man. I know a lot of people probably don't say that. And just like you said, when you do anything for us in terms of equality or contextualization, it's met with a lot of resistance. But I just wanted to send him an email saying, hey, thank you. And I'll never forget that, you were the first African American president of the University of Richmond, and that was my first year, and your first graduation was essentially my graduation. So I just wanted to tell him thank you, man, and just send my condolences and wish him well on whatever he whatever future endeavors that he has.
that's wild. That's wild. What did you think? Thinking back to Virginia State, and we just had the All Star game, and the focus was on HBCUs. What did you think about the whole presentation and even the fact that they did it? Of course, this all goes back to the bubble and everything that was going on in the country last year, getting to the bubble, players not playing. Uh, and I guess LeBron kind of led the charge as far as inside the bubble and trying to make change within the league as far as how they were going to approach things and if and when they were going to go back on the court, which ended up being the next night. But still, it was a big deal at the moment. So, what did you think about that as far as you being from an HBCU for your bachelor's and the whole idea of HBCUs in the NBA?
Yeah, so I tell everybody, everyone who knows me, I got two homes, and Virginia State was my second home. That was my the longest I've ever been away from my mom, the furthest I've ever been away from my mom. And it's a lot of misconception with HBCUs in terms of, like, they think they're better than everyone else, this, that, and the third. But it's really, we're a family. And the best way for me to explain it is probably Cinderella. That's the best way to explain it. The specific one with Brandy in it, like, you looked at as like the stepdaughter, the stepchild, and we always get, sloppy seconds, so to speak, or the brunt end of the stick, or so just being created equal. And I think that's the biggest thing, like equality. That's all we're asking for. So just being having any time of notoriety, like, it's appreciated, because at the end of the day, that's just the school that Black people go to, but it doesn't make it any lesser of a school, because at the end of the day, it's where you're going for higher education. And I have to ask, are we assessing it on education? Or are we assessing the school based on population? Like, what are we using to determine which school is better than the other? So it's like, for many years, you've gave all this praise and recognition to PWIs or the D1 schools, but even Virginia State, or Norfolk State, like, D2 schools or D1 AA schools that, hey, it's just a HBCU, like, just it takes it and I'm learning this and my journey, it takes $0 to support something. Literally you wearing it, raising awareness, bringing attention to it, putting a spotlight on it. That's free. That's free. And what I have to give, LeBron and I watched, because I'm a Lakers fan. I'm not a LeBron fan. Let's not get that twisted. I support who's on the team. So like, I'm not a diehard LeBron James fan. I respect his talent. But more importantly, in this type of work, you have credibility and reliability. And us as men, you only have, your name and your word. And with LeBron, working with LeBron, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, all of them, they said that, when all of this went down and they kind of wanted to boycott the playoffs or the bubble games, they spoke to President Obama. And he is kind of who kind of get like, hey, okay, you have attention, this is what you're doing now. You have the stakeholders, in a difficult position. Now what? What's the end goal? What's the end game? And seeing what they did as a result of that. So yes, so not only, having an HBCU spotlight at the All-Star game, but that's just a microcosm of what happened as a result of what they did that day. Even open up the arenas for voter registration poll. Like, that is just crazy. And just knowing that we're a part of their initiative, because at the end of the day, they're people too, and it might not be that many, but there are players that are from HBCUs that are in the league, because this is what you do for a living. Talent is talent. It don't matter where you came from. So if you can play, you can play. And that's all we just wanted. That's all I really want is a person going to a HBCU like, hey, our school is just as good as the other schools that you're giving praise and recognition to. That's it. So it was definitely a good full circle moment again. And I was looking at Chris Paul's jacket that he had on, looking at all of the pins. I'm like, where's Virginia State? Where's Virginia State? Where's Norfolk State? I paused it, rewound it, but just having that type of excitement. If I did that, just imagine how many other people did that for their respective schools. Yeah. It was just a good feeling, man.
Yeah. I don't think people give enough credit to the fact that if Black people would have been allowed into PWIs, well, at the time, PWIs in general, maybe there wouldn't be HBCUs. There wouldn't have been a need. This was a need-based thing originally, right. But now people try to carry it like you're trying to separate yourselves. No, this is what we're doing now because we had to. So,
yeah, like in doing my research, man, and being in a fraternity, HBCU really is a sanctuary, and that's why now I can only speak on my time from 2008 to 2012 at Virginia State. It's a family, so it's a place that you could go. But what it taught me is diversity is more than just color. Because growing up in school, we're taught diversity is defined by race, defined by color, defined by gender. But you learn it's so many different, variations of diversity. And I won't even go through them, but being from a rural small town of Tappahannock and then going to Virginia State where there are people from, the 7-5 or DC or New York or just Richmond, and they have a different outlook on things, it really makes you, be proud to be Black. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. That was the first time I felt proud to be Black, is going to a historically Black college or university and then learning about my history, Black history, not necessarily the whitewashed American history that they teach us in school. And then now, it's all kind of starting to, click with me where it's like, okay, how can you say you're teaching us American history, but you're not teaching us Black history? And Black history is American history. So can you say that you're really teaching us American history, or you're teaching us your variation or your, what you deem to be important? And that's not what history should be. History should be flaws and all, Black, white, and different. If you want to learn history, you need to tell the whole inclusive story. And you get just a portion of that, a portion that you didn't get at a HBCU. And I definitely appreciate Virginia State for that.
Yeah, that's dope. VSU, my homeboy that I mentioned earlier, Cody, he he tried his hardest to get my daughters to go to FAMU. It didn't work out. It didn't work out, but they're fine. But yeah, definitely appreciate that. And of course, he sent the LeBron at FAMU joint. I don't know if you saw that picture from I guess from the All Star weekend.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
yeah, that was definitely dope, man. But yeah, like just seeing them where I like just seeing people famous wear our stuff is crazy. Like Chris Paul had a Virginia State hoodie on, and
Yeah.
it went crazy. And I'm like, oh, let me get that. Let me get that. Let me get that. Chris Paul had that on. Let me get that. But just
Hmm.
even Zion wearing what do he have on? Livingstone. Like just seeing them wear HBCU stuff is just crazy, man.
We got to touch on the. We kind of mentioned the Confederate monuments in Tappahannock, but you were explaining to me that like I kind of compared it to the Lee Monument and what's going on in Tappahannock, but you said the difference is with the actual ownership of the statues and the land that they sit on.
Yeah, man. So what happened with that back in June 10th, myself and a couple, other citizens, we had a rally and a protest back home. And I got some of my frat brothers to come down and come out, and I have to kind of give a major prop to, his name is Ace, but his name is Azariah. He is Gunnas, the artist. He's his photographer, so he kind of is doing pretty good for himself. And I reached out to him. I said, man, I'm working on donations, but I kind of want to do a documentary to kind of, document what we're going to do today. I don't know how big it's going to be. I don't know what's going to happen, but I just want to document the day. And he said, okay, say less. So we came down, we interviewed citizens from many different demographics about the monument. Some wanted it to be removed, some wanted it to stay. And what ended up happening, we did a doc called March on Tappahannock, and we put that out on YouTube, and it did very well. Like a lot of people looked at it, and in there it showed something as organic as possible. The town told us we could only do a protest if we stayed on the sidewalk. We couldn't get in the street, and I'm gonna be honest. There were some people that were, we had some elderly. This is the first time we did it. We were going, it's about 2.5 miles, kind of, in total up and back. So it's like, we didn't want anyone to get hurt. And, I don't know who, but they agreed to being on the sidewalk. Now I had said from the beginning, I will assist, but wherever we go, the route needs to be in front of that monument. The route has to go past the monument. And we were on the sidewalk, and I never forget this, Smitty. I said, I'm sorry, y'all. I said that to, people in the group. Let's get in the street, surround the monument. And we all surrounded the monument. 300 plus people surrounded the monument on a random Wednesday. The news is there, everyone's there, crazy. And we were calling for the removal of the monument. And I said, if you don't stand for us, then we don't stand for you. So what are we gonna do? And we said, tear it down. And then by the grace of God, one of the members of the Board of Supervisors, Mr. Sidney Johnson, was in the audience. He came up and he said, it's been up for too long. It needs to be removed. It needs to come down. And that's what started the process. And, for me, I'm Tappahannock born and raised, so to speak. I've been there since I was 3. I never knew that was a Confederate monument, to be honest. Like I always thought it was like a founding father or whatever. It wasn't until, you really start, because I don't know, you've been to Tappahannock, you've seen it. It's literally in the middle of the street. It's not like the Lee Monument where it's a roundabout where the street goes around it. No, it's in the middle of the street. The street separates where the monument is at. So it's like you have to stand in the middle of the road to see it. And then, you start like looking at it. It's a Confederate flag on there. So then that's when you're starting to learn, like, no one in Essex County taught us about that. No one told us. So we're doing our independent research. And we've just done a lot of educating on the monument, even to find out that, the Board of Supervisors donated money. So that's where we're at now. The Board of Supervisors donated money with the, Daughters of the Confederacy, and working in tandem with them for the erection of the monument. So that's what happened. Then later on, the town came, the town was chartered, was incorporated. So there are some people who are of the mindset that there's joint ownership. So it's not like, and I asked this question, I said, hey, ours is in the middle of the street. We've went down every rabbit hole possible. VDOT doesn't own it. The state doesn't own it. And we found that the county, Essex County, contributed some funds. So they have some ownership. The Monument Association has been disbanded. So, they're not there. And then the town owns the land in which it rests. So the problem that the lawyer had is there's no documentation that says clear ownership. So either entity, whether it's the town or the county, can make a claim to it. And, unless you want to go to litigation to determine who has majority stake of it, the best decision is to work in tandem with one another. So we've been working on the Board of Supervisors since June, and they have finally passed a resolution that passed 4-1 that they agree to remove, relocate, or contextualize the monument, but will work in tandem with the town in doing so. So now where we're at, okay, town, what is your position? Because we've submitted FOIA requests to the town for months, like, multiple. Their response has been, we have no documentation that states that we own it. We're not claiming ownership at this time. We've looked into it, et cetera, et cetera. But now all of a sudden, and I don't know, this is just, my standpoint. Now all of a sudden, because the county looks like they're about to make a decision, now the town is like, well, hold on, we own the land. Now for me, I think it's best for, the county and the town, because now we can't have people saying, well, if the town was involved, this wouldn't have been a decision. Or if the county was involved, this wouldn't have been a decision. So I think, in terms of a collective collaborative effort, it's phenomenal that they're working together. So I took it a step further. I felt like, okay, we know that if they reach a resolution, and I have faith that they're going to, do the right thing, money's going to come into play. Like, oh, it costs this much. And then my thing is this: if you're a taxpayer, whether you're black or white, and they say, oh yeah, we're going to raise taxes because we're removing a monument, you're probably going to say, oh, that monument ain't never bothered me. You're not going to raise my taxes. So I said, okay. And working with, a private citizen, she said, you should start a GoFundMe. I was like, look, I'm a little, uneasy about starting this GoFundMe because I have no control over the vote, so me starting this GoFundMe, I don't want, people thinking that I'm trying to, scam them, get money, this and the third. So what I did, I was very specific in the GoFundMe, like, hey, a portion of this will be towards removing the monument, and then a portion of it will be towards putting a historical highway marker up for Mr. Thomas Washington. And first donation I got was $25, and I'm like, okay, man, I set the goal for $10,000. Not gonna lie to you, Smitty, like that was just a number. Like I didn't even think I was gonna hit that. I'm like, if I get 5, I'll be okay. So first one was 25. Next donation was 1,000. So I'm like, whoa, I may actually, hit my realistic goal of 5,000. But then as the months start going, I start getting $500 donations, another 1,000, another 1,000. Man, today I haven't looked at it, but I'm over $9,000 towards my goal of 10,000. And I said, look, I don't care if you donate $1, $5, $10. My goal is just to raise as much as possible to alleviate the taxpayers or absorb them of any financial responsibility that they may have towards the monument resolution. Now I said to them, look, we're prepared to give you the money contingent upon you all making a good faith effort of having us, kind of in the know of what you're doing. And you try to contract a small women-owned or minority-owned business, preferably black-owned, for the removal. And we'll give you the money as a good faith. We'll give the money. So, I got over $9,000, man, and it's just blessing, man. I'm blessed. I'm shocked, but it shows that there are people who agree that we need to do something about the monument. And I'm not gonna say people of color. I'm not gonna, separate us or divide us how they like. No, good people of all different faiths, political statuses, socioeconomic status, even geographical. Like there are people who not even from Richmond, not even from Tappahannock, not even from Virginia, who have donated because it's a good cause. So that's where we at, man.
Respect, man. Like I told you, I was like you doing a lot. It's all coming to fruition as far as maybe I don't want to put this on you, but maybe something in your life or the future for the future Reggie Carter. You're gonna do with the rest of your time on this earth, man. I'm not saying that you're relegated to whatever this is at the moment, but feels like you're doing a lot of stuff and it's leading you somewhere. So be interested to see how that turns out for you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. It's
No doubt.
just crazy how it started. And if someone would have told me that in 2020 I would be doing this, I would. There's no way. There's no way. But like I said, all of this kind of started with rest in peace, Mr. George Floyd. Like that to me was like the straw that broke the camel's back, which was already broke. But for me, it was because just watching that, it was like, and that's a modern day lynching. And when he's calling out his mom, all I could think of is like if something happened to me or my brother or my sister, we would be calling out for our mom. So that's kind of, what started me to like walk down this path. And it's exciting, it's different, but I also got to thank COVID too for allowing the world to wake up and see like, hey, the way we have thought of corporate America in terms of being in an office 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, it's not necessarily, needed. It's not a necessity. And like, being able to work from home. And like me, I'm recovering from I got a repaired Achilles back in November of 2019. So I've been at home since November of 2019. And it's just really like I get all my work done. I do all my work on the state's time, but it just gives me a lot of free time to navigate and look into other things and research. Like I was at the Library of Virginia one day, just there working, just to be in a different atmosphere. That wouldn't have been possible pre-COVID. So just being around different people, or either teleworking with like-minded friends. That's not, I work for the state. So my agency, if you don't work for my agency, there's no way we could be sitting in the same house or room or workspace and just talking, fellowshipping and working. So I definitely think like everything aligned for a reason. And a huge part of my success is, my support system, as well as, one, I love my job. I'm very good at what I do. I went to school for human resources. So, knowing HR is something that I know, second, to nothing, so to speak, or like second nature. But so it's like, doing my work, I can get my work done. So I think that that's helped too. Like if you're kind of good in your craft as well.
For sure, for sure. Um, Man, I don't even know. I didn't set a timer on this thing, but I know we had an hour. I know we had an hour, but I'm glad we were able to hit everything, bro. So thank you again for the Richmond Planet work with the license plates and the the monument work, the work in Tappahannock, the Black is Beautiful sign, and of course representing those Lakers and those Eagles always.
Sure.
So appreciate that as well. Share the email where people can contact you regarding the license plate.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And one thing I didn't add, I'm sorry, man.
Good.
I just got my 100th pre-order yesterday. So of 450, I just got my 100th order. And for anybody who's interested, you can go to richplanetplate@gmail.com. So send me an email, and that's rich, RICH, planet, PLANET, plate, PLATE @gmail.com. Email me. Like I said, it's only me, so just bear with me. But once you email me, I'll eventually send you the application from DMV. You'll fill that application out. It's a fillable PDF. Fill it out with your car registration information, and it's $10 or $20 depending on what you have. Most people have regular plates, so it's going to be $10. You pay the $10, do the app. you're done. You're one of 450, and DMV will mail the plate to you directly in 2022 after it's approved.
Excellent, excellent. That's great, man. It's great work, and I appreciate you taking the time to join me today.
Thank you, Smitty. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, always, bro. Once again, Reggie Carter, Sauce, out here.